operation known as Hanson's Tree Service. Chad Hanson continuing the tradition of great late Jeff Hanson, who started Hanson's Tree Service long ago on a dream, and now, of course, Chad is carrying that out. So, again, people, don't waste any time. You got tree damage. You're menaced by some trees that are still standing, but you know are going to come down in the next storm. Make sure you get it done at a great price, and I'm telling you what, you'll get it done as soon as humanly possible because Hanson's Tree Service, that's how they operate. Hanson'sTree.com, that's Hanson'sTree.com, proud sponsors of Free Common Sense Conservative Radio.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL FenceWorks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit STLFenceWorks.com. You're listening to the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose, let me straddle my own saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences. Gaze at the moon until I lose my senses. I can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in.
Well, and a hearty good afternoon to all of you and yours on this Thursday. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here. Stel Potsikas right over there. And the week is, you're so thrown off. I got a text from Doug Giles just a few minutes ago. He's like, 1 o'clock, okay? I said, it's Thursday. He's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Because that is crazy when you're off for that Monday. Everything is so cattywampus. So I closed on my first home as a real estate agent for the Walner home selling team yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was really great. Today I closed on yet another one too. So, but I'll get to that. So this home, the guy it was really cool. It was a great experience. And I'm getting someplace with this because I, first of all, am going to start with the headline that I really admire gas stations that have a side fried food section. Not many do, and the ones that do are absolutely, totally rock stars. You know, they have the fried chicken, they have the fried wings, they have the fried shrimp, all that. I don't know what determines how a gas station has that little side fried food area there, but you only hop into them every once in a while, you know. And when I do, I always wish that I could get some fried chicken, but I'm in that mode, you know, where I think it's probably the German upbringing in me, that little kind of staid German, you know, you deny yourself all of these nice little things. I mean, I don't deny myself tequila. That's probably one of the things, but everything else, you know, I'm like, man, walk into that gas station, you're like, damn, that fried chicken looks so good. I could soak that in some hot sauce, just sit in my car and listen to News Talk STL and just chow down on some. That would be what I really should be doing. And then people are like, well, why do you deny yourself? And I go, I don't know. I just feel like I make soup and I make like banana bread and all of these chocolate chip banana bread things for the kids. And I never eat them myself. I want to, but I never eat that stuff myself. I always like give it to somebody else, whatever. But I don't know why. I just don't. And it's not that it doesn't make me better than anybody. It just is like, why not just live a little? You might as well, right? It's like my grandpa, who died at the age of 101, 95 years old, and he's getting crabbed at by his daughter, which is my mom's sister. We're on the beach, and she goes, "You need to wear some sunscreen." And my grandpa's like, "I'm 95 years old. All right? I'm not gonna die of skin cancer. I'm not wearing sunscreen on my bald head." So anyway, the house that these folks purchased, he's a pilot for American Airlines, lived in Wisconsin, moved down here because they have grandkids that live in Cape Girardeau. And so they're 55 right there. They could pop down to Cape Girardeau, and 55 takes them right up to the airport so that he could fly out of here. And so I hooked them up with a home right there in beautiful Festus, right there on a street called Crestview. And of course, had the help of my buddy Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. That's all you got to do with American Mortgage. And he made it really super easy. So he's my partner. So Google bagel loan. And that wasn't the reason I'm doing it. I'm just saying we were partners with this. So he's an airline pilot, and she's a school teacher. They've got one son and a German Shepherd named Whiskey. And so I'm driving down there, and because I want to see them because they're in their new home, and usually, we'll do the walkthrough, that kind of thing. But when they're in the home, it's always nice to go and visit them when they're finally in the home. So I went down there, and I wanted to bring a housewarming gift. And usually what you do is you bring like a little thing of flowers, or you might bring a batch of cookies or whatever else. But I had this wiseacre idea that because when you get off 55 and go to the street, there's that BP there. And I remember, because when we were looking at the home and whatever, I remember there was this side fried restaurant right next to in the BP. And I'm thinking, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get them some hot wings. St. Louis style, Missouri style, Jefferson County style, BP style, fried hot wings that they're going to love. And it's right down the street from them. So I'm going to introduce them to this mainstay, the BP gas station fried hot wings. And man, I wanted to eat one of them too, but I said, "Ma'am," I cleaned them out, got them all, took all the rest of their wings, wrapped them up, went to the house, and presented them with the hot wings. And you know what's funny about it? They couldn't have been more excited that I brought them fried hot wings. And you know why? Because when they arrived the night before, that's where they had dinner, at the BP. And I'm thinking, how did I know this? How was I just so instinctually onto this? And so, to my point, my original point, though, is that, and I'll post a picture of them up on the Facebook page, but is that I just, I don't know what determines which gas station or what has a fried thing. And I don't know how that works, but it's really random. Every once in a while, that's about it. Real quickly, let's check in with young Caroline. She's giving a little briefing here. I want to find out what's going on before I get to the rest of the story.
Threat to our national security and economy posed by large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits. The United States has run a trade deficit of goods every year since 1975. In 2024, our trade deficit in goods exceeded $1 trillion. Everybody agrees this is unacceptable. President Trump is delivering on his promise to fix this problem, and he has taken a long overdue and much needed bold stance for American workers after decades of our manufacturing base being hollowed out. The president's rationale for imposing these powerful tariffs was legally sound and grounded in common sense. President Trump correctly believes that America cannot function safely long-term if we are unable to scale advanced domestic manufacturing capacity, have our own secure critical supply chains, and our defense industrial base is dependent on foreign adversaries. Three judges of the U.S. Court of International Trade disagreed and brazenly abused their judicial power to usurp the authority of President Trump to stop him from carrying out the mandate that the American people gave him.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and spare these three judges the public hanging for treason that they deserve. And this is going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, which it rightly should. And the Supreme Court will take a gigantic ball of crap and shove it right down their throats. I don't even know how this court even exists. This trade court or whatever clown configuration it is. And they have zero authority to stop the president from executing his executive powers to regulate commerce. My goodness gracious. Teddy Roosevelt single-handedly got into the situation where he was absolutely dismantling the J.P. Morgans of the world and the trust buster that he was. If we still had these clowns on this court, and again, I'm not kidding about the travesty of justice that we're experiencing at the federal court level, the district court level, and with this little clown configuration, this trade court or whatever the hell it is. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's about time that we had the Civil War and the showdown that we ought to be having at the Supreme Court level. Will John Roberts and little Miss Amy Coney Barrett actually follow through on their dedication to an originalist view of the Constitution? Who knows? These people are all political animals. They're not really a clean Supreme Court. Even historically, the Supreme Court hasn't been. They're political animals. They will do anything to avoid upending society, which is why you got Roe versus Wade in the first place. It's why they refuse to deal with the Texas suing Pennsylvania over their wrongful extension of mail-in balloting for 3 days, which was in total violation of the Constitution. They should have taken up that case. They didn't because it would have upended society, 2020 election, blah, 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 blah. And it's probably better off anyway, as we all know, and I've said for a long time now, it's actually turns out great that President Trump lost in 2020. Democrats and the devil can't do anything right. And so, and as Pat Boone said yesterday, the devil always overplays his hand. And we all know that, even just reading the Bible. And in this case, these lower courts have overplayed their hands, and they need to be 86th by the U.S. Supreme Court if the Supreme Court is able to make the right decision. So this is a complete ripoff when it comes to true American justice and our Constitution, and it should not be allowed to happen. If I'm President Trump, I am absolutely ignoring these courts and forcing the issue on top of appealing it, because then you go to the Supreme Court. But I would, if I'm President Trump, I'm absolutely telling these people to eat a bag, if you know what I mean, or pound sand, or whatever euphemism you want to create here. But to me, this whole thing should be met with absolute heavy artillery, and it's now time to go ahead and destroy and dismantle the shadow government that is the lower courts and the district courts. And will the Supreme Court ultimately be able to determine that? Maybe. We hope they will. But I'm telling you, man, I am not kidding you. This kind of hijacking of the authority of the branches of government that exist and are named in the Constitution, this kind of hijacking of authority by rogue bench sitters is really hitting a moment where at some point These people are going to pay a big, big price because this is the kind of thing that started the American Revolution. This is the kind of hijacking of authority that started the American Revolution, and the constant poking and picking at the colonists and everything else, which is what these courts are doing. You saw it with that beanbag up in Wisconsin, who is now claiming somehow that she was just following through as acting as a judge, and she's going to get her ass handed to her, and she should. But now's the time for the big war. Now's the time for the big fight. And again, I'm doing this trade court a favor because the other alternative is hanging them publicly for treason. So let's let the Supreme Court handle it and do everything else. And that way, I'm saving their lives. See what I do? I sell homes and I save lives. That's what I do every day, Stel.
Somebody's got to do it, and you're doing it.
And you know what? I might just eat some gas station fried chicken today, or at least bring it home and look at it for a little while.
Or leave it in the car.
Yeah.
As Phil on Facebook said, just leave it in the car for 3 days and then go ahead and
I do
enjoy
that.
it.
I do that a lot with food, and you'd be surprised how great it still tastes, even though you leave it in the car. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Won't be turned around, and I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground, and I won't back down.
News, analysis,
Glad you're talking about this.
opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Hideout. Hey, listen, you're still in college, right? Just start your weekends on a Thursday. Tonight, you've got the great Indiana Pacers game going on, right? The NBA playoffs. You can go down and watch it on the 40 different TVs, the Hideout right there in High Ridge, 10 minutes south of 270 and Gravois. And I got to tell you, what a fun place. And they've got the patio open, the music playing all over the joint. They've got these wonderful, amazing burgers. They have the Dave's chili, which, hey, listen, chili people sometimes, I don't know why they don't eat chili when it's warm, but it's really good when it's warm too, in terms of being the weather outside. Coldest beer, you're going to find the great staff there, everything else. It's also now golfing time. It just so happens that Johnny's, or the Hideout, is now at Sugar Creek Golf Course for you. So it's basically an extension of the Hideout. Sugar Creek is a great course, and the clubhouse now basically all of its food, all of its drink is coming from the Hideout style. And of course, you'll be able to have it delivered to the fifth hole, or the sixth hole, or the third hole, or whatever it is, by the golf cart, and the pretty girls on the golf cart for you, bringing you out the nice, gigantic beef hot dogs or beer or whatever it is you want. You can even get a Manhattan out there, for crying out loud. That's how great they are and how diverse they are at the Hideout. The Hideout's proud sponsors of free common sense conservative radio, 10 minutes south of 270 in Gravois, right there in High Ridge.
Start your summer with a weekend showdown. Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers roll into Busch Stadium June 6th through the 8th. Be there Friday for a cool new promo, the first ever Cardinals neck fan. Perfect for hot game days. Then on Sunday, young fans 15 and under take home a Rawlings Kids Glove. It's a weekend of big matchups and big giveaways. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Mason Wynn, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Lou.
Catch a Cardinals game on your next date night or friends night out. Whether it's love in the stands or laughter with your crew, nothing beats ballpark vibes under the lights. Cold drinks, great eats, and Cardinals baseball. Check out Friday Night Live at Busch Stadium and enjoy happy hour price food and drinks all game long. Every Friday home game. Get your tickets today at cardinals.com and make memories that go beyond the scoreboard. Busch Stadium, where great nights begin.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring. like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is very interesting because this is like right in my wheelhouse because I am fascinated by presidential history. When I was a kid, I used to sing the president's song, and I used to amuse my parents, who would and their friends when they would say, "Jamie, you sing the president's song," and it'd be like George Washington, John Adams. And they would end with, and Richard Milhouse Nixon is our president today. And then finally, by that time, I outgrew it. And so I wound up, one of my favorite books as a kid was Facts About the Presidents. I'm just so fascinated by them, everything else. And so I was really super intrigued. And so I kind of feel like I know a lot about presidential history. And that little area of the 1820s presidential history is pretty interesting, because you've got the James K. Polk. Well, first you had the William Henry Harrison, who was the grandfather of Benjamin Harrison, who was president of the United States in the 1870s. But William Henry Harrison, who was sworn into office and gave his like a 2-hour-long inaugural address in the rain, and then suddenly he died a month after being in office. So he was there for a month. Then you had the likes of James K. Polk and Zachary Taylor, who was a grizzled war hero, and then John Tyler, whose VP was Martin Van Buren, who had the greatest hair of anybody, kind of like a cross between Bozo the Clown and I don't know, whoever, and somebody, and Angela Davis. So anyway, John Tyler, this is crazy. So the last grandson of a president from the 19th century just died over the Memorial Day weekend. Isn't that crazy? Harrison Ruffin Tyler, the grandson of President John Tyler, passed away at the age of 96. His death marks the end of a living link to a 19th century U.S. presidency and a person of intrigue for many political historians. Tyler was the son of Leona Gardner Tyler, the grandson of John Tyler, who was the 10th president of the United States, 1841 to 1845. His mother, and I mentioned the 1820s. What I mean, that was, of course, Jackson's time. Then, of course, we get into the 1830s and 40s. Anyway, so he died. His mother, Susan Ruffin Tyler, descended directly from Pocahontas. Isn't that crazy? So he's the last living grandson of President John Tyler, and now he's dead. He was born in 1928, which is really super crazy. So these people lived a long time and even had babies apparently later on in life. But that's a little slice of history for you. President Trump, in responding to Elon Musk and his concerns about the big, beautiful bill, of course, the media ran away with his comments about that, Elon Musk. And the media is always obsessed with trying to pit Elon Musk against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of the things that really is great about him is that he's not a defensive person. I don't know about you. How many times have you watched him in news conferences where a reporter will ask a really sinister, cynical, crappy little question, and you, in your mind, are thinking, how would I react to that? And I would be like, go F yourself, get all mad and everything else, and do whatever. President Trump never gets defensive. He'll get back at you, but his tone of voice and everything else is never defensive. And I really admire him for that, because to me, it is a very mature and Christian thing to be able to avoid being defensive or taking everything personally. And you got to imagine, after all this that President Trump has been through, I don't know how much any of us could really take after all that and not be defensive and mistrusting and kind of angry and blah, blah, blah all the time. And President Trump is, man, I just really admire his constitution and his inner heart, and more importantly, his inner peace. And one of the great examples of this is how he answered this question about Elon Musk's criticism. The news media would like him to attack Elon Musk, but because President Trump is an expert at communication and he is a well-balanced mentally individual, he answers the question in a really great way, not unlike the way I tried to describe to you yesterday upon Elon Musk's criticism, as well as the criticism of Senator Tim Scott, where I said it doesn't have to be all or nothing. This is a process of negotiation. And so if the Senate has this bill in hand, then push through amendments to codify Doge, cut out the Green New Deal money, send it back to the House and have the House deal with it then, and see who's got the guts to be a true American conservative in this country instead of just an appeased rhino. So listen to how President Trump answers this question, and against the backdrop of actually the facts surrounding what is coming out of his mouth, just appreciate the balance that he has in answering a question that he ultimately calls nasty, but nonetheless, he doesn't get flustered. It's an amazing thing, and he answers it perfectly. And I don't have it plugged in. See how I am about that? Because I was in such a hurry. I was doing all this stuff, and I don't have it plugged in because I didn't go to rehearsal.
Reaction to that.
Let's do this again. See, you know, and that was like a perfect lead up. That was like a professional broadcasting lead up into a soundbite.
It really was. I think the fried chicken threw you off.
Fried chicken threw me. I don't know. You talk about. I was just talking about a guy who's never flustered, and I guess I'm ill prepared and didn't go to rehearsal. Just whatever.
Mr. President, Elon Musk in a television interview criticized the one beautiful bill, saying he was disappointed it didn't cut enough, essentially, that it undercut the Doge efforts. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the reaction's a lot of things. Number one, we have to get a lot of votes. We can't be cutting. We need to get a lot of support, and we have a lot of support.
And the thing is, you and me looking at it, and the guy is like, because like me, I'm a weaker individual. I'd be like, what did you just say? Repeat that stupid question again, and then get out of here. Instead, President Trump is like as patient as Job. It's good for
get
him.
It through the House. The House was. We have no Democrats. If it's up to the Democrats, they'll take the 65% increase. If that doesn't get approved, this country is going to have a 65% increase in taxes and lots of other problems, big problems, almost bigger than that. But we'll have a 65% increase as opposed to the largest tax cut in the history of our country.
By the way, I don't want to interrupt you. It's a great answer. But by the way, this isn't what that reporter wants, though. That this isn't the answer the reporter wants. President Trump is going to drown him in facts and important minutia that really actually is super important. But that's not what this reporter wants. I doubt the reporter is even writing any of this down or doing whatever. And the reporter's probably checking his watch, rolling his eyes, and ordering something on Uber Eats because he wants to hear President Trump say, you know what? Elon Musk can kiss my butt. I'm right. You know, he's worked hard, but you know what? I'm the president of the United States, and Elon Musk, that's what the reporter wanted. But that's not what President Trump gave him. He decided to give him a real answer. And most reporters really don't want a real answer. They don't sit here and bother me with percentages and facts and this kind of stuff. Come on, you finish it. Hurry up. Attack Elon Musk.
We'll be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way they go. It's very big. It's the big, beautiful bill. But the beautiful is because of all of the things we have. The biggest thing being, I would say, the level of tax cutting that we're going to be doing. We're going to make people really be able to. We'll have the lowest tax rate we've ever had in the history of our country, and tremendous amounts of benefit are going to the middle income people of our country, low and middle income people of our country. So we're going to see what happens because the Senate, as you know, is negotiating with us, and they have to then go back to the House, and it's got a way to go, but. I have to say, Speaker Johnson and Thune have done an incredible job. John Thune has done a fantastic job, and they're working together with me and others. And I think we have an amazing, if we pull this off, remember, we have 0 Democrat votes because they're bad people. There's something wrong with them. They'll let people pour into our country. Single biggest problem is we had 21 million people pour into our country, probably higher than that. And they're people that weren't supposed to be here. And many of those people are bad. Murderers, drug dealers, the mentally insane. They were closing mental institutions all over the world, not South America, all over the world. They're coming into our country, and we're getting them out. And we're having a hard time because some judges aren't making it very easy for us. And it's tough enough. They approve that. They allow that to happen to our country. We don't have one Democrat vote. And if I were a Democrat, I'd be voting for this bill and I'd get elected to any position I want as a Democrat. They're crazy. They're voting for a 65% tax increase. And they're only doing it for hatred. They're not doing it for any reason. They know it's terrible. Terrible politics, in my opinion. But so we have no Democrat votes. That means we have to get almost all Republican votes. And I think we're very close to doing that. I think it'll be very, very successful. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Your nasty question. I'm sorry, was that answer too long for you, buddy? Was it too much? I mean, it was 2 minutes and 50 seconds. I know that's too much for you, maybe, and not exactly what you wanted. And again, that's the beauty of President Trump when he is answering reporters' questions that are obviously provocative, whatever. And in many ways, the only unfortunate thing about that answer is that it probably is sitting on the cutting room floor of most major network places. They just want the exoticism of Elon Musk attacking President Trump, and that's all they want to do. One thing we have to realize is that this whole bill is a work in progress. I mean, the legislative process needs to be able to be played out, and any senator, specifically a Republican senator, who will throw up their arms and say they're a no vote instead of coming up with a solution, amendment-wise, whatever, where they're pushing it back in there. Anybody who is along those lines is not really doing the job that they should be doing, and that's the shame of it. You know what's funny is, let me see here really quickly, is that Stell. So Jimmy was supposed to be on the show with me today,
12:30,
and so when I talked to him and I was on the phone with him, I was texting. He said, "Well, that's cool. When I have you on at 12:30," he goes, "It's okay. It's 5:11 here." I said, "Well, then I'll have you on," because this was about 11 o'clock or 10 something. I said, "Well, then I'll have you on at 7:30 your time." And
telephone number
Then I got back to him, and I said, "Where are you?" He said, "Prague, I think." And that was the last I heard of him. And then we tried to call him at that time and haven't gotten him on. So we'll keep efforting to get the great Jim Carafano on to talk more about tariffs and beyond. But he is in Prague as we speak.
Those are those concert incidents, where somebody gets up on stage and says, "Hey, good evening, Detroit."
Yeah,
you're in Chicago.
He just travels so much that sometimes he just gets a little bit out of sorts, but we'll see what happens and keep efforting to have him on. Of course, Rick Pogue on later on in the show. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Thank you so much for listening.
Here's to the travelers on the open road. Here's to the dreamers in the bars. Here's to the teachers in the crowded rooms. Here's to the workers in the fields.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Grasser Electric, GrasserElectric.com. Shane Grasser, what an amazing guy. He's been a longtime friend of mine and supporter of the Allman Common Sense Radio brand. I mean, going on now about 15 years, and really loved him. He was one of the first ones out of the blocks in 2005 when I kicked off the Common Sense Radio wagon train, and he's been with me ever since. And of course, I'm an avid customer of his and everything else. And of course, over the 15 years, Shane has gradually kind of left a lot of it also to his amazing son. And these guys are doing such great work. And it doesn't matter what the job is. No job is too big and no job is too small. And it is really pretty amazing what they do. Commercial electrical work, perfect for you if you have a business or whatever and you need something fixed, or you're building up a business, or you're adding additions to your business. That is the way to go. If you are rewiring a part of your home, or you are building an addition, or you just need something fixed, the outlets, you need some GFIs, you want this, that, Grasser Electric will be right there for you at a great price and lickety-splickety as well. It's Grasser Electric, GrasserElectric.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Tim Jones here. Being a recovering lawyer, don't call me for your legal needs, but you should call Todd Sivia and the fine folks at Sivia Law. At Sivia Law, they'll help you through all of life's transitions, providing you with legal services in the areas of estate planning, elder law, special needs, real estate, personal injury, and much more. Locations across Western Illinois and Eastern Missouri, including right here in Creve Coeur and Wentzville. Call Sivia Law today for any and all of your legal needs. 833-995-WILL, SiviaLaw.com, SiviaLaw.com.
Hey there, it's Vic. Are you in a constant battle with mosquitoes outside your house? Well, stop smacking yourself in the face. Go to MosquitoJoe.com now, 855-ASK-A-JOE, to get more information and a free quote with Mosquito Joe. Outside is fun again.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
As Israel continues to hammer Hamas, will Trump bring peace to the Middle East? Steve Bucci of the Heritage Foundation will join us at 4:20.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Call you up in the middle of the night, like a firefly without a light. You were there like a blowtorch burning. I was a key that could use a little turning.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. So, yeah, I'm trying to do the math here. I'm not very good at it, obviously. But so when I messaged him at 10 or 10:30, I can't remember. It was 11, whatever. He said, well, it's 5:11 here, and that was like at 10:11 or 11:11. I don't know. Can't remember. And then I said, well, then we'll call you 2 hours later because the show is going to start. 12:30 would be 2 hours after I was chatting with him. So that would be 7. It would be now 7:50 Prague time because they are 6 hours ahead of us. And so Tara Lynn suggested he'd be sleeping, but I don't know who sleeps at 7:30 at night. Some people do.
Actually, 7 hours ahead of us.
7 hours. Well, whatever. I mean, but still, you know, you're well, be sleeping, but maybe he is.
He's a man of mystery, James.
He's a man of intrigue. Yes. He's in Prague. He doesn't even know whether or not he's there or not. So, yeah, maybe it's time to 86 James Comey, huh? You think? Yeah. Well, you know what? James Comey basically is 86ing himself. And Dan Bongino is helping along those lines as well. And now, of course, it's great because that's what we really need. We really need somebody to war on James Comey who has some influence and finally stuff a sock in this dude's mouth and shut him up once and for all. I mean, honestly, is there, by the way, any more of an annoying human being in our midst than James Comey? Because everything is annoying about him because, first of all, he's such a puss. He's such a beta male. He's constantly, talking about how his wife bosses him around, talks about wearing sweaters and jeans and being a grandpa and doing all this kind of stuff. He's such a look. I mean, how is it even... Like, how is a woman even remotely attracted to something like that? Kind of like a psychopathic Alan Alda. You know what I mean? So anyway, he did an interview, and he speaks in these words that Phil suggests Adam Schiff might be part of that. You might be right, Phil. But but Adam Schiff hasn't really spoken lately, so that puts James Comey in the lead now as the most annoying. So anyway, what kind of person would sit there and talk so passive aggressively is when he did that interview where he talked about how the Republican Party is white supremacist adjacent, which of course, no normal person really knows what that means. He's talking in bureau speak. And so now, though, what's really happening, what's great is that a lot of people are going and confronting him at his dumb little book signings. By the way, who really is buying a James Comey book? That's who I really would want to find. I would really want to focus on who's in line there, waiting for James Comey to sign their book. But anyway, this guy comes up to him and it's like,
I was just going to ask you about the MSNBC interview you were doing because on social media, everyone's saying he's talking about the white supremacist adjacent Republican Party. Everybody in the party, voters. What's you want to clarify?
I don't want to answer that one. No, thank you though.
Oh, no clarification at all.
No, I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
be
you.
well. Thank you.
Yeah, be well too. That's really annoying us also. And first of all, it's weird because he's signing his book signing it, and he's sitting down at a table in front of all these children's books. A bunch of kids' books. I'm too blind. I can't see the names of the titles. And of course, he's so brave when he's sitting in an interview setting, but not so much when somebody asks him to account for the words he's saying in his interview. So that tells you a lot of what you need to know. Dan Bongino now, and I think Dan Bongino is perfectly fit to be the person who knifes James Comey. And he is about to make James Comey's life hard over the next couple
Wait
weeks.
till you read the stuff that's coming out.
Does he still have loyalists in the building?
He's talking about how Comey basically intentionally mishandled and hid evidence.
Because when I hear the FBI director saying, you guys are finding boxes that are hidden, okay, how does that happen in the Bureau?
Well, we were there a couple of weeks, and luckily there were a lot of people up there who grabbed us by the arm the minute we came in and said, thank you for being here. You know, we need to talk. There are people there who are really horrified at what happened. And there was a room, and we found stuff, a lot of stuff.
A hidden room.
I wouldn't call it hidden, but hidden from us at least, and not mentioned to us. And then we found stuff in there, and a lot of it's from the Comey era, and we are working our damnedest right now to declassify. And just so you know, because I get the public, I totally understand people saying, well, do it now. The process is not all the information is ours to declassify. Some is other intelligence agencies. It's not, we literally can't do it. Once that gets done and that gets out there and you read some of the stuff we found that, by the way, was not processed through the normal procedure, digitizing it, putting in FBI records. We found it in bags, hiding under Jim Comey's FBI. Quickly, you're going to be stunned.
The shells.
Yeah.
Wait till
Comey needs to better hurry his ass back to the beach, because he's got a limited shelf life out there in the public sphere before Dan Bongino and Kash Patel get a hold of him.
If he wants to come after me, no problem. I've been living rent-free in that guy's head for years, and that's just a bonus. Do you know how many copycats we've had to investigate as a result of that beachside venture from the former director?
Is that right?
Do you know how many agents I've had to take offline from chasing down child sex predators, fentanyl traffickers, terrorists? Because everywhere across this country, people are popping up on social media and think that a threat to the life of the president of the United States is a joke and they can do it because he did it. That's what I'm having to deal with every single day. And that's what I'm having to pull my agents and analysts off, because he thought it was funny to go out there and make a political statement.
The 80s.
Get him! Get him, Cash! Get him, Dan Bongino! And that's the thing. So, again, these guys, especially since Comey's coming out, and of course, again, I keep quoting Pat Boone, right? As Pat Boone said, the devil always overplays his hand, and Comey starts running his fat mouth and calling for assassinations of Donald Trump and everything else, and now has his new dumb little book, and it's like, okay, it's time to put a sock in this one, and they're doing just that, so good for them.
As Cash loves to say, lawyer up, buddy.
Yeah.
Lawyer up.
Yeah, right on, man. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report. Happy Thursday to all of you.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
Is your pup in need of a spa day? At Pretty Little Paws, we believe grooming should be a stress-free, tail-wagging experience. Our one-on-one, fear-free grooming ensures your furry friend gets the gentle, personalized care they deserve. No noisy kennels or long waits, just love, patience, and expert grooming in a calm, relaxing environment. Because a happy pup means a happy you. Pretty Little Paws, with 2 locations in O'Fallon and St. Peters. Visit us online at prettylittlepawsgrooming.com.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and check out all their products and services at oldtowncountrystore.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The White House is downplaying a trade court's ruling that blocks President Trump's import tariffs. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In the view of White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett, the trade court's decision striking down most of the tariffs is just a hiccup. He blamed activist judges, even though Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan nominated 2 of the 3 judges who issued the ruling. Hassett told Fox Business that it's not going to affect trade negotiations with other countries and that the White House is very confident the court's ruling is incorrect. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Also at townhall.com, a federal judge has extended an order blocking the Trump administration's attempt to bar Harvard University from enrolling foreign students. U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs extended the block she imposed last week with a temporary restraining order on the government action. Harvard sued the Department of Homeland Security on Friday. That's after Secretary Kristi Noem revoked its ability to host foreign students at its campus in Cambridge, Massachusetts. In health news, the Trump administration canceled some flu research for one drug company. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
Moderna says it was notified Wednesday that Health and Human Services had withdrawn funds to pay for development and purchase of such an investigational vaccine that would include H5N1 bird flu. It would be an mRNA vaccine using the same technology that allowed its development of vaccines to fight COVID-19. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has expressed deep skepticism regarding mRNA vaccines. Moderna had just announced positive interim results from an early-stage trial of the vaccine that targeted H5 bird flu virus. I'm Donna Warder.
And on Wall Street, the Dow is down 1 point. The NASDAQ composite ahead 46. More at townhall.com.
Dennis Prager here for Equity Protect, the company that completely prevents home title theft and fraud. I've met Jim and Ryan, the owners of Equity Protect. They started Equity Protect because title fraud and equity theft are direct threats to American consumers, especially if you own your home free and clear or have high equity. Most title lock companies merely monitor your title, then let you know once fraud has occurred. Equity Protect is simply better. Equity Protect completely stops any attempts to steal your home equity and ownership. Get your free risk assessment at equityprotect.com. If you're low risk, sign up for their free monitoring service. If you're medium to high risk, get their full protection. For a limited time, my listeners can get 30% off your first year with the discount code Prager30. Go to equityprotect.com/Prager. That's equityprotect.com/Prager, or call 888-213-2959. That's 888
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a rain day today with scattered showers expected through the afternoon and into this evening. Some of the heavier rain will be south of St. Louis, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm down there, but basically scattered showers on and off throughout the day here in St. Louis. Under cloudy skies, of course, the high temperature around 70 degrees. We are looking for the rain to end tonight and a sunny, warmer day tomorrow with a high near 80 degrees, and it looks like a pretty toasty weekend, too. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
News, analysis, opinion.
The New York Times says Trump has blinked.
What he is doing, it's putting the military at risk.
It's to control how those dollars are spent.
A fight for the soul of the Democratic Party. 1019 and 94.1. News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman here, really super proud to speak on behalf of Jordan and Stewie, home of the bagel loan. People, you heard Jordan talking yesterday about how simple it is for you to cut all your costs when you buy a new home because they do it for you. Google the bagel loan. And also, once you get set up and apply and everything else, make sure you tell them that Jamie Allman sent you. No underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, no closing costs. This is when you buy a home and your lender is Stewie and Jordan, home of the bagel loan with American Mortgage. And I know this very intimately because I am a real estate agent with the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. I'm proud to be 314-749-7179. But key is you go ahead, get me as your agent when you buy a home. I immediately partner with Jordan, who is my guy. He saved one of my clients $6,000 after I actually moved that client from another lender. It was a woman who wouldn't have known any better. But, of course, she had to know better because Jordan talked to her. Also, debt consolidations and refis. And you might think, oh, man, interest rates are too. Listen, the other guys might have the higher interest rates, but not Stewie and Jordan. They help lower your down payment costs. Less fees means more money to invest in your new home and cover moving expenses. That's what they're talking about with buying a new home. And the refinancing benefits, you get more money back, less finance into your loan. You're maximizing the cash back on cash out refinance. And the debt consolidation is really super amazing. I'm telling you what, I want you to take my word for it. Nobody else is going to do a better job for you when you are buying a home than Stewie and Jordan with American Mortgage, home of the bagel loan. All you have to do is Google the bagel loan. And also, no one is going to give you a better deal on refinancing and debt consolidation. Trust me, I work with them on a daily basis. They are wonderful people and will take great care of you. MLS number 226715. It's StewartsAMC.com, home of the bagel loan. Google the bagel loan.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper.
We are kicking off June with a very special series dedicated to home ownership and the home build process. So tune in this Sunday. We've got special guest Jim Brennan with McKelvey Homes talking about the quality and craftsmanship they've been building right here in the St. Louis area since 1898. Check it out right here on News Talk STL Sunday morning, 9 a.m. or on SerenityWealthNowRadio.com.
Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. You're listening to the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here with you. Stel Ponticus over there. Just seeing video of them now arresting a bunch of illegals in Nantucket. You know. And Stel, you can finish this joke. There once was an illegal in Nantucket. Don't.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed that. Jim was calling. Jim Carafano was calling.
Yeah, is he okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What was
I
the
want
joke?
you to complete this riddle, this joke.
All right.
There once was an illegal in Nantucket. I knew you wouldn't.
I have no clue.
I don't know the rest of it either.
Who lived in a bucket?
Yeah, kind of. They're living in a bucket right now of slime on a ship after being arrested in there. By the way, I wanted to also point out that that I am an American hero and a saint. Yesterday, I saved two spandex-wearing bicyclists who were going on Clayton Road during rush hour for some reason from being at the end of the line and straggling. So I'm driving down Clayton Road. all the guys take off from some gas station, and then but two of them didn't make it because everybody else was moving too fast and everything else, and so they get stuck in the driveway. And then I stop, however, and wave them through so they can catch up with their people. And you guys know how nasty I am about these people sometimes, but I decided to do it the godly way. And so thank you very much for that award. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally tracked him down, running around the streets of Prague, or at least he thinks he is. Hello. Hello, Jim Carafano, heritage.org. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, well, I'm not actually in the streets of Prague. I'm out somewhere near Prague, somewhere.
Yeah, in the outskirts of Prague, I guess.
Yes, in the actually, the Czech Republic is beautiful. First of all, Prague is an amazingly beautiful city. Unfortunately, it's been discovered by tourists, but it is a picturesque Central European city on the river. You know, it's just absolutely beautiful. And I mean, if you come here, it's definitely worth it. But the country is actually quite beautiful. It's very green, really charming little villages and stuff. It's just a beautiful little country.
So the Czech Republic, what you don't really hear a lot about them or anything in that category. So what would you attribute their relative peacefulness and the fact that there's just not a lot going on there?
Czechs are they're in the middle of everything, right? They're in the middle of Europe. Their politics are in the middle of Europe. Yeah. So they are. It's a very well-run country. It's very democratic. There's very little corruption. Yeah. So the Czechs are, and the Czechs I'll tell you one thing the Czechs did, which is really quite amazing. This thing with supporting Ukraine, and you couldn't get artillery shells, and the EU was going to produce all these artillery shells, and the EU produced nothing. So the little tiny Czech Republic, on their own, basically went around the entire world to find out where the stocks of 155 munitions were, and they found 1 million shells, and then they went to people and say, okay, who's got money to buy shells? And then they figured out how to let these contracts to get basically 1 million shells to Ukraine. So the EU couldn't figure it out. The United Nations couldn't figure it out. NATO couldn't figure it out. This tiny little country, they could figure it out. So they're super. I mean, you could not find a more pro-American place than here. So
wow.
So they're great allies and super good people.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's cool. And it's great. It seems like you can't go a day without hearing the toils of and problems of some country. And it seems like the Czech Republic just seems to kind of keep going along and minding its own business.
It's like Croatia. They're small, they're happy.
Yeah,
lots of tourists.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I love it.
Okay.
Hey, so what do you think will be the outcome? And I'm sure the news is floated over there by now, obviously, with this this trade judicial tribunal stopping President Trump's tariffs. What do you make of how this is going to end?
Heritage, which has actually been great. What the thing I love about the Heritage Foundation, where I've been for decades, is they're not in anybody's pocket, and they're not there to cheerlead for anybody. And you couldn't find a more pro-Trump think tank than Heritage. But even they were called balls and strikes on the tariff thing. And one of the things that they said in their analysis is they think that there were legal questions about whether the president had authority to impose all these tariffs. And a court, apparently one court agreed with them. And if it actually gets up to the Supreme Court, I mean, their argument is they'll say he doesn't actually have authority, that some of this is with Congress. But, it's kind of interesting but irrelevant, because we all love lawyers, right? Because Trump is already on track to deliver on trade deal after trade deal after trade deal. So whether the tariffs are actually legal or not, I mean, can be imposed or not at this point is irrelevant, because people already crossed the Rubicon. And says Trump has to you need to make a choice. You can either do fair trade with the United States and flourish as an American economic partner, or we can throw rocks at each other. What do you want to do? And overwhelmingly, most of the free world is saying we'd rather just have a fair deal. So
yeah. So I mean, okay. So if they determine that President Trump doesn't have the authority to stop or impose these tariffs, so who has the authority to make these trade deals? I mean, who's making these trade deals to begin with?
Well, this is, of course, what do you mean by trade deal, right? So
yeah.
The president has enormous power and authority to make deals with other countries. Now, there's the difference is any kind of trade deal that the president does basically is the policies of his presidency. An FTA is literally a treaty, so it is binding on not just this administration but subsequent administrations. So what was happening with FTA is we said, well, look, it's very complicated for the president to negotiate a trade deal and then go back to Congress and say, approve this trade deal. And then Congress goes through all this rigmarole. Well, we like this, we don't like that, whatever. They completely change the deal. Then you basically got to go back and renegotiate the whole deal again. So they came up with this thing called free trade authority. So where the Congress essentially would give the president authority to negotiate a trade treaty. And then if the president signed that trade treaty, it would go to Congress for an up or down vote. So they couldn't essentially rewrite it afterwards. Now, to get that authority, they would pass something called the free FTA authority, which is giving you but in writing that bill, they could write in any kind of instructions that they wanted to. So increasingly, under Democrats, they were writing, well, you have to have labor provisions, and then you have to have, SOGI provisions, and then you have to have, DEI things in there, and all this nonsense stuff. And these things actually became so onerous. It's like, well, it's not really a free trade deal anymore. It's a wish list that Congress gives you that you have to follow. And I don't think that, first of all, in the highly partisan Congress that we have now, that you actually could get FTA authority approved. And even if they did approve it, I'm not sure it's something the president would like. So what he's done is, instead of essentially doing trade deals that are essentially formal treaties, he's doing trade deals that are just that. They're trade deals. They're just deals.
So how did Ronald Reagan get away with his? And I guess I could guess that his were more targeted than President Trump's, and that's been often the criticism of President Trump's tariff impositions is that they were overly broad and probably would have been better off to be more targeted. Is that what kept Ronald Reagan out of trouble, or how did that work?
It depends on what authorities you have been given by the Congress to implement tariffs. So the president's relying on an authority that was given as basically an emergency authority for national security purposes. And essentially what the judges said, and we'll see if the Supreme Court affirms this or not, is you cannot basically just say everything's a national security purpose and everything's an emergency. That's an overbroad interpretation of the statute. That's what they would say to. That's what that's what the judge said. Matter of fact, that's what the analyst at Heritage said that as well. But it doesn't mean there are no tariffs, because there are lots of tariffs the president can impose that aren't relying on this specific authority. So he does have authority to impose some tariffs. I mean, Biden actually imposed more tariffs in his term than Trump imposed in his first term, and that's with essentially the same legal authorities. So it doesn't mean he can't impose any tariffs. It's just authorized under the statute. And then again, it remains to be seen if the Supreme Court affirms that or not. But look, virtually no country in the world, which they all knew, matter of fact, you'd be an idiot not to know it was going to be challenged in course. Every country knew that it was going to be challenged, but that's not what they're focused on. They're focusing on, do I want to reset my economic relationship with the United States in one that's advantageous for me? And if the answer is yes, then you're going to do a trade deal. Nobody really wants to get a tariff war with the United States anyway.
Yeah. Well, boy, where were all these courts during COVID? My goodness. I mean,
they were. Look, I am sympathetic to the argument that what we have here is really lawfare, that we have a bunch of judges looking for every excuse to just invalidate Trump's agenda because it's the only way the left can fight back.
Yeah.
Having said that, it doesn't mean that every legal decision that goes against Donald Trump is lawfare. Both those things can be true.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this when you're talking about not everything should be under the guise of national security, whatever, because I guarantee you that's what made me think of COVID, because a lot of things were done under the guise of what's good for us and what's better for us and better for the kids and better for the old people, everything else. And we've seen how that can work against us at times when we don't want it to, so.
Exactly. Right. And so I think it's legitimate to say that there's a legitimate issue is when leftist judges are doing these national injunctions for political purposes, that's not how the courts are intended to operate, and that the Supreme Court should issue guidance that is essentially preventing any federal judge in the United States from essentially usurping executive authority just for the reason that they feel like it. So I like so many complex things. There were things when everybody's got, like when you hear a husband and wife argue, most of the times, they both have a point, right? Is there lawfare going on against the President of the United States? Absolutely. Are there also legal decisions that are against it? And that, yes.
Yeah.
It's just like, was the election stolen? Well, I don't know. But was there election fraud? Was there questions about the integrity of U.S. elections in 2020? The answer is absolutely. That's indisputable. So both those things happen to be true at the same time.
Do you get to keep all your miles on your airline flights and everything?
I have no idea. When would I use them? Right?
I don't know. I know. I'll use them. Hey, when
donate them to Jamie Allman. I'll check into that.
Is Czechoslovakian food? What is that? Like, what would you eat there?
Very Central European kind of beef soup with meatballs, dumplings, roasts.
Nice.
Schnitzel, that kind of stuff, fried potatoes. These are fish, perch, a lot of perch.
Yeah. And what do they drink there? What do they like drinking there, alcohol wise?
There's a lot of good Romanian, Moldovan wines. I don't even know if there are Czech wines, but a lot of good wines. And of course, Czechs are famous for their beer.
Yeah, I was about to say,
right?
I had a guy come in because I do some bartending at Billy Bush's, not as much anymore because I'm doing so much real estate, but when a dude came in to try this Pilsner that Billy Bush, who's the only Bush brewing beer in the world now, made. And the Czechs have this really great Pilsner. I forgot. I think it's Iroquois or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
And so this guy came in, and it's a dude from Czechoslovakia. He tasted the locally brewed Pilsner and said, "This is really good." I'm thinking, wow, coming from a guy who, like the Pilsner capital of the world, Czechoslovakia. It was pretty good mark of excellence there.
That is a true compliment. Yeah. So beer and sausage, that's definitely this part of the world.
Right on. All right. Well, Jimmy, thanks for making the time. I hope you have a tremendous rest of your evening there in Prague or nearby. And always great talking to you, brother.
Yeah, I'll be back in America next week. So, hey.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll talk to you then. All right, buddy. That is the great Jim Carafano somewhere near Prague. And now, of course, I feel bad for suggesting that we publicly hang those trade judges. Boy, I feel bad about saying that. Anyway, I don't know. Jim's possibly right about all this. I get it. There's an argument to be made. But at some point, something's got to give here. At some point, either, normally what I would prefer is if we had some legislative breaks that would be put on President Trump if they were necessary, instead of some guy in Ohio doing it. And so, I think there's a different argument about the judicial breadth of control in this country, and whether or not again, let's say it was a Supreme Court that did this, or let's say it was, I don't know, a federal appeals court, whatever, but some district judge someplace. And I realize this was a different story with the terrorists, but you notice what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of power placed in these district judges. And I'm not quite sure how that possibly is in line with the Constitution and the separation of powers and everything else when a district judge in some state can control the actions of the executive branch. It just doesn't. I'm talking about the national injunctions and those kinds of things. There's just something not right about all this. And so I hopefully, in some ways, if we're going to go ahead and adjudicate this element at the Supreme Court level with the tariffs, and I hope we also have some kind of call, ball and strikes, on the powers of these local courts. Let me check in with this. This is just coming out over the transom here, Stel, with some sirens going off in Tel Aviv.
To bomb shelters, and it gives you a sense that more than 600 days into the conflict between Israel and Hamas inside Gaza, that President Trump is trying to end with his Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, there is still this question about what the United States will do with the other fronts. The largest active front right now being the Houthis in Yemen that still have an arsenal of ballistic missiles and also other types of weapons that they have used to target not only commercial shipping lanes, but also...
It's 9:23 in Tel Aviv, and it's Trey Yingst with the Fox News folks talking about the sirens going off and sounding around Tel Aviv. We'll keep you up to date on that. Of course, this comes within 72 hours of the killing of yet another terrorist who's responsible for October 7th. And in fact, the reading of a list, Netanyahu read from a list of people they have justly offed who were linked to the massacres of Israelis. So this is obviously no accident and comes on the heels of the Israelis fighting back in a nicely ferocious way, but we'll see what happens. We'll keep you up to date. Rick Pogue on the way. This is Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Singers, sad song. He's singing about standing in the shadows of love. I guess it feels awfully alone. She says, I know exactly what he means.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Window World. I get a lot of questions when I'm kind of out in the street within people. And it's so funny. They're like, are Window World windows really that great? I'm going, okay, first of all, I'm not going to go on the radio and attach my name to something that I don't believe in, and that I haven't experienced, and that I haven't seen in real life and touched in real life, and know the people who are operating the organization that is selling said product. I would never put my name on something like that, because the minute you guys are dissatisfied, you're thinking of me, not them. So when I put my name and attach it to an organization like Window World, I'm telling you, these are great windows. I'm staking my reputation on the fact that these are fantastic windows. These are double pane windows. They are strong as an ox. They'll bring a couple to your house so you can actually see them for a free estimate, a free, once over in your house. And you can ask the person who brings them in to stand on them, and they won't break. And these are durable windows. They're thermally superior to all the rest, and they're good looking windows. They're beautiful windows. They have the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and Qualified Remodeler Magazine doesn't really admit, but points out they're the #1 selling window in the country. And all you have to do is check the Google reviews, everything else. And you have enough information to say, hey, I'm a Window World window person. And Jamie just kind of sealed the deal on that one. 314-993-1800. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800. They have a great financing deal for you. 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Their sales are absolutely through the roof, and rightly so. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. 314-993-1800. Simply the best for less.
Start your summer with a weekend showdown. Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers roll into Busch Stadium June 6th through the 8th. Be there Friday for a cool new promo, the first ever Cardinals neck fan. Perfect for hot game days. Then on Sunday, young fans 15 and under take home a Rawlings Kids Glove. It's a weekend of big matchups and big giveaways. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Mason Wynn, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Loop.
The school year is finally over and it's summer vacation for all our teachers. Celebrate at Busch Stadium. Teachers Night presented by Millipore Sigma is back at the ballpark on Monday, June 9th. With the purchase of a special theme ticket, you can take home an exclusive Teachers-inspired Cardinals jersey featuring the birds on a pencil. As a special treat, the first drink of the summer is on the Cardinals. That's Monday, June 9th. Teachers Night at the ballpark. For tickets and details, visit cardinals.com/theme.
This is Steven Matz, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Loop.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are. And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here. Really happy to be with you. And, of course, Stel Ponticus over there. And, ladies and gentlemen, hey, it's really, I have to tell you, it was really nice of Governor Kehoe to throw a bone to the peasants, you know, and calling the special session. It's like, well, we're going to help these millionaires with the stadium, but we're going to still help those flood victims, you know, or the tornado victims and disaster victims. We'll throw a little money their way. And you know what's going to happen here is they're going to start horse trading the tornado aid with the millionaire aid and all that kind of stuff. I realize they'll probably be separate issues. And heaven forbid they tie it all in, because you don't want to do that, because then that's going to be even more sinister. I don't think they'll do that, but you never know down there in Jefferson City with all the shenanigans. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Rick Pogue, a longtime friend.
This nation that I love is falling under attack. A mighty sucker punch came flying in from somewhere in the back. As soon as we could see clearly through our big black eye, man, we lit up your world like the 4th of July.
Yeah, buddy. Fresh. You were out of town earlier, weren't you, brother?
I was. I just got back into town. How are y'all doing?
Oh, good, man. What are you thinking about this special session and the money for the stadium? I mean, listen, I love taking my boys for a while there when you know, obviously Aiden finally went up to college, but when they were together, we had some time in December. Love going to Arrowhead Stadium and watching a Chiefs game, everything else. But man, I mean, I think we can love our sports teams and everything else and not love just dumping a bunch of money into their hands.
Yeah, I look at both sides of that, and I'm not going to give you that neutral political wussy answer. I've never been a fan of taxpayers funding private projects when the profits go to the owners only. I think if the taxpayers are going to fund, you know, that goes back to the Trans World Dome and all that. If the taxpayers are going to fund something, I think there should be something in it for the taxpayers. I've just always felt that way, and I get, again, I look at it from the owner's perspective, and you know, they love that. Why wouldn't they love that? They get tax abatements and all these things. You know, I've built buildings before in towns where I get tax abatements. Those are great, but I can't imagine, you know, the taxpayers of these towns where I build buildings paying for my building too.
Yeah.
You know, it's illogical, and it's an emotional thing, and that's why it's unfair, because people love their sports teams, and that introduces the emotion factor into the whole thing and gives it a different dynamic, and that's to the advantage of the owners. And I am more fiscally conservative than most, I guess, in that area. I just think the taxpayers should have something in it for them if they're going to fund stuff like this.
Yeah, I agree. And I, when it comes to, I know they use this argument somehow that, they create a lot of tax wealth for the state and all this kind of stuff. But if you're abating the taxes and you're giving them tax breaks anyway, we've done this with tax incremental financing, where it's like, we need to build this mall, the strip mall, because it's going to be a boon for the city. But you're giving them tax breaks, so you're really only getting a portion of the taxes anyway from there. And then there's this idea, Rick, that they somehow help local businesses. Well, Ballpark Village is a great example of how actually there was a level of cannibalizing that was created by actually and funded by taxpayers to build Ballpark Village, expand Ballpark Village. But then ultimately you took business away from a lot of restaurants who are around downtown.
You did. And that's a different dynamic, obviously. I mean, that introduces competition, but in many ways it's a really biased competition, isn't it? I mean, it favors the ball team, and again, the owners there. So, but again, that is a different dynamic, but it's a similar kind of issue. But when we're spending our tax money to help a ball team and really help the owners, it shouldn't be for free. I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is. I could come up with one if you gave me enough time, but I just don't think it should be used in that manner without something reciprocal.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that would be a very simple way to go, and it's interesting because I know that they're really at this point. It shows you how much we have matured as taxpayers and as citizens when we get to that situation where you have, for instance, the Post-Dispatch, and conservatives agreeing that it's a bad idea, that's how far we've come. I think it used to be like, it was like, well, we have to do this or we're in trouble. Or we have to do this or we're going to lose the team. We have to do this or we're going to do this. And people aren't buying that anymore. It's kind of like the boy who cried wolf all over again, right?
It really is, and that's the whole thing, the emotional factor. Oh, we're going to lose the team. Okay, fine, let's pay for it. Make it a damn loan. I don't know. If we contribute, $200 million or whatever it is, say, okay, we're going to pay that back over the next 10 years to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's just not. I can't go along with that. I just can't. When there's nothing in return.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, as businesses, I mean, who wouldn't like for instance, your business? Let's just pretend that the state legislature was just deciding to give the Hideout, millions of dollars, and conversely, what's going to happen is a lot of the other bars in High Ridge are going to be like, wait, what's going on here? How come, so all's fair is fair. You can't really have a situation where you basically have created government welfare for just special individuals or people with money. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. And, we know it. We know it in our guts. I think most people know it. And it's just, like I said, it's an emotional thing. And that the emotion part needs to be taken out of it. Every business decision I make, I take the emotion out of it, because I get emotional about stuff too, and it'll lead you to a bad decision. Be careful. So
you
have to remove that factor from it, and what's best. What's best for the company. What's best for me. What's best for my family. So, anyways,
yeah.
I mean, I think I don't mean to oversimplify it, but I just really think it is that simple.
Yeah. And, it's interesting how, and you and I have talked about this because I think we touch on it every week because I think that's a good thing because you're kind of the business guru and talk a lot about the economy. It's so interesting how all this talk about how we were going to go into an immediate recession and do all this kind of stuff that none of that has happened. And so what happens is instead of correcting the record and everything else, the news media and other mouthpieces just stop talking about it. They don't ever kind of correct the record and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, gas prices are going down. Yeah, grocery prices are going down. Yeah, commodities are cheaper now. And it's like, wow. I mean, nobody just talks about it.
And the press, the media will never do anything to shine a good light on President Trump, or at least, tell any part of the truth for President Trump. I mean, that's the first thing they did. You're right. Oh, we're going to go into a recession. Well, it's not going to happen. There were even some really, fairly conservative economists saying we're going to go into a recession. It's inevitable. No, it's not. The things President Trump are doing are what will keep you out of a recession and which will spur investment, incentivize people to buy stuff and move money around. That's what we want. It's, again, I don't mean to oversimplify, but you make decisions that are good for investment. You want the American people to pull the money out of their pocket and spend it somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what you want them to do. If they got their investments, you want them to leave their investments in there, let them make money. Let it go. Don't encourage them to pull it out. People who pulled their money out when Trump first got in there and did these tariffs and the market stupidly they went into panic mode and a bunch of people pulled their money out. Well, they're regretting it now, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not a genius. I'm a Hoosier from, St. Charles County, but I'm smart enough to know, use a little bit of wisdom. Economics is not rocket science. Supply and demand, and it's incentive. It's you look for incentives.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's this idea. Like I was doing radio in Phoenix. I was doing afternoon drive there last week, and so I would listen to the newscast there, and they were talking about gas prices, for instance, in Phoenix. And here in Missouri, we're lucky. You go out to Phoenix. It's still $3.60 a gallon out there for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's still expensive, and so I'm not quite sure why that is. But here in Missouri, it's more often below $3.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is either. I really don't. I don't know if it's transportation. I'm sure there are economic factors in there, logistical factors, something. But all I know for sure, the aggregate price of gasoline is going to continue to go down. What is oil now, a barrel? $50-something, $60. It's going down. The price is going to get down. I believe you'll see sub $2 gas again in the next year or so. As long as President Trump is allowed to do what he's trying to do for us.
Yep, I totally agree, and I think that whole price increase. I think it depends on the metropolitan area, because like, for instance, LA's gas prices are high. You go to Chicago, Chicago gas prices are high. Actually, that really shouldn't be. And I'm not have to delve into why that is, because that seems like an artificial inflation just because you're in a major metropolitan area, and none of that makes any economic sense, really.
It really doesn't. And the other thing I love that he's doing, he's so smart. The other thing he's doing is, see how he's really talking about nuclear. He signed these executive orders to make the nuclear industry, nuclear energy easier to access and to build, and that's brilliant. How do you think the oil industry is going to react to more nuclear energy?
Yeah,
you think the price of oil will go up or down?
Yeah,
he knows what he's doing. We just need to let him go and let him do his thing. We need more nuclear energy. We need it. We should have power plants all over the place. It's very safe, and it's clean and efficient.
It's interesting right now. I actually was pleasantly surprised that I was wrong in some of my predictions about the reaction to the nuclear power initiatives, because I said, you ought to play a drinking game. That afternoon when President Trump announced it, I said, play a great drinking game tonight when you're watching the evening news. And every time they show you a picture of 3 Mile Island, take a drink and you'll get blasted. I guarantee you. Well, it was only a select few people who actually chose that route. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised because I thought there'd be all this propaganda, this anti-nuclear power propaganda. It didn't seem like it really took hold.
It really didn't, did it? Maybe they deflected to something else, or maybe Trump sent some trial balloons out there to keep him busy. Maybe that's why he says things like Canada should be our 51st state, to keep them so pissed off about that they don't think about this over here.
Yeah.
I mean, I love watching him work the media, and they fall for it every single time.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
like leading a lemming off the cliff. It's incredible. They just jump right off that cliff every time.
So, brother, how's the hideout going?
It's going well. I'm trying to think who we got this weekend. I can't remember this weekend, but we got good bands coming. We got every Friday and Saturday. There's good bands up there. We have music. We probably have music. We still have music, 4 days a week or so. Obviously the food's amazing. That we've got our pizzas and our handcrafted burgers and our amazing wings, which made us famous. And it's the experience. It's the overall experience, as we're located. Our patio is located at the second highest point in Jefferson County. You can see the Labadee Power Plant from the Sunset Stage, where you sit and enjoy the music. And that's 18 miles as the crow flies. And you can imagine what kind of sunset you see there, which you see the sunset there. We post pictures of it all the time. It's a great experience. Well worth it. 25, 30 minutes from just about anywhere in St. Louis. If you have not experienced the hideout, you really should come down and enjoy it. We're on 3.5 acres, plenty of room to move around. If you want to be inside, we have a 5,000 square foot facility inside, and with games and great people and great girls and just great employees. And it's like you always say, it's 40 televisions. So if you're going to watch any sporting event, that's the place to go.
Yeah.
We'll turn the music off inside and we'll turn the sound up on the TV. Our sound system, we paid through the nose for the sound system and the televisions to have the best experience possible.
Yep.
So come check it out.
Make some plans right now to go down there and watch the Cubs-Cardinals series coming up, man, because that's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good one. And, of course, the NBA, all that kind of stuff. And, of course, you mentioned the employees, man. They're just so happy people. That's because Rick and Jake and the rest of the gang take such good care of them. And then, of course, we've got the Sugar Creek Golf Course, which is a ton of fun, right?
It is, and it's going well, just like we figured. I mean, you get 150, 200 golfers coming through there every day, and the customers kind of come to you. Well, we just quadrupled the experience they have there with our food and our people and everything else. So, our mixologists are very good. So everything just went to another level at Sugar Creek Golf Course. So definitely check that one out too, the hideout at Sugar Creek.
Right on. And I think we talked one time about those hot dogs out there that are absolutely delicious.
Quarter-pound beef, just like the ballpark.
Right on, man.
I made sure we had those.
I love it, buddy. Well, it's always great to talk to you. Thanks so much, Rick Pogue, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. And thanks, as always, for your expertise and your illumination when you're on the Allman Report with me, buddy. Thank you.
Always at your service, my friend. Love you.
All right, love you too. That is the great Rick Pogue, people. And this is the Allman Report on Newstalk STL.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Gemini Wealth Group there for you, supporting free common sense conservative radio. And I got to tell you, Jeff Portman, who is a friend of mine, is excellent in helping you and his team, of course, helping you configure your retirement so it spreads out over those 20, 30 years you're going to be alive after your retirement so that everything is running smoothly and you are not in need of anything because you're prepared. So what he does, the GeminiWealthGroup.com, what they do is they look at your portfolio. Maybe you're about to retire. Maybe you're already retired, but you haven't had anybody put a plan together for you. Or maybe you're already retired and you're uncomfortable with the plan that someone else has put together for you. I am convinced that you should get a second opinion from the GeminiWealthGroup.com. And Jeff Portman, you can call him directly at 314-888-0123. So here are the things that they need to go over with you. Are you diversified enough? Have you had a lot of long-term thought as opposed to short-term thought? Have you talked out your tax liabilities and your health liabilities and all these kinds of things that you're going to have to deal with? And have you talked about your living requirements and where you're going to live and whether it's rent or whether it's a mortgage payment or what it is, all these things so that you can make sure that as you are going into retirement, you are well taken care of because you have earned it and it's your money. So Jeff Portman and the Gemini Wealth Group will make it super comfortable for you, super easy for you. And again, as I point out, and this is a good thing for the most part, right, is that people are living longer these days, and you will too. And you just want to make sure that you're not scraping the bottom of the barrel or looking in the car's ashtray for extra change when you can have the Gemini Wealth Group help you out and make sure that you're planning righteously. The GeminiWealthGroup.com, the GeminiWealthGroup.com.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor-fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Gene Evans, former state representative, former executive director of the Missouri Republican Party.
The National Party and the State Party have had school choice in their platform, parent empowerment. Donald Trump's agenda, and he's mentioned it several times lately, he talked about it a lot when he was president, is school choice. A state that 100% backs Trump is not going to take a major piece of agenda out of their platform. They're just not.
Weekday mornings, 5:30 to 9 on News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Colombo and Company.
A lot of controversy surrounding the special legislative session called for by Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe. We'll get the latest Thursday with Mo Rep Justin Sparks. Plus, we'll talk to Dr. Randy Tobin.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. And really, if you can believe this, and Joy Reid is happy now. And so is Alex Wagner, if you even know who she is.
I kind of forgot about Joy Reid.
Well, apparently people who watch MSNBC haven't, because her replacement, the ratings are just tanking since Joy Reid left. So there was an appetite for what she wanted. Her ratings were terrible, but I guess there was no assumption that they would get even more terrible if she left. And they have. And so, and Alex Wagner, who was on, I don't keep these people straight because I really don't watch that a whole lot. I did occasionally, Rachel Maddow is entertaining from a standpoint of being kind of like a left-wing version of a right-winger, provocative and that kind of thing. So I think she's good at her brand. That is for sure. Even if she is annoying, she's at least good at her brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's a lefty who's very smart.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she's smart enough to be, kind of to hide the fact that she's outrageously nuts over her political views, but she's no slouch, so she's easier to watch than some of these other people. So here's what has replaced Joy Reid. This is these three people, including Michael Steele, who used to be a Republican operative. I used to really enjoy talking to him because I would see him out at the conventions and that kind of thing. He had a real future in the Republican Party, but apparently he has taken the other pill. So this is them talking about and comparing this Garcia character to an American hostage.
So keeping the Trump administration in the spotlight and making sure we keep pressing them to comply with the Supreme Court order and the other judicial orders, not just in Kilmar's case, but in others. That's what we need to focus on.
I'm curious, could you explain or maybe express how is this different? Because I've been thinking about this case in particular, but some of the others that are very similarly situated. How is this different from when Putin grabs a journalist or some, rogue group in the Middle East grabs an American, and we're sitting here fighting to try to get them back? Our own government did this.
Yeah. So what Michael Steele's doing is he's comparing Garcia to a hostage. And again, normally this would be laughed out, whatever. And I'm not quite sure why these individuals believe that even people who are liberal or left wing tune in to hear people sympathize with a wife beater and a criminal illegal. And for the life of me, I know that they must be confused over the priorities of individuals who have valuable airtime. I mean, this is a valuable slot on MSNBC. And instead of, for instance, working on improving the Democrat Party or working out issues regarding some of the faults of the left or whatever it happens to be, they're creating a crusade on behalf of a bad dude who I'm not quite sure many leftists out there even really want to associate with this guy. And I'm sure there are a bunch of people, and maybe they're keeping quiet because they don't want to be eaten alive on the internet, who are like, I don't know why people like I admire and I vote for and all this kind of stuff are going to El Salvador and having news programs dedicated to this guy. I don't really understand it. I'm sure they don't. They're just not speaking up anyway. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day on this Thursday. Stel Ponticus, thank you so much for being with us. And ladies and gentlemen, coming up, it is Colombo and Company on News Talk STL. Hey, folks, let me tell you also about Newstetter's fine jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. And we're heading to the beginning of June. And then about 2 weeks later, it's Father's Day. And I want to let you know that the Frank Sinatra Bulova watch there at Newstetter's Fine Jewelry is beautiful. I happen to sport one, get a lot of compliments on it. They are absolutely just beautiful watches, and they come in a really great, amazing little case, a little box, that's shaped like a record, and it has the Frank Sinatra hat on the face of it. And again, it's the Bulova quality, the kind of quality that, that Frank Sinatra loved because he wore them religiously and he loved them and they look good and they'll look good on the father in your life as well. WowDiamonds.com, WowDiamonds.com. Newsteaders Fine Jewelry, proud supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
To our brave police officers and first responders, we say thank you for risking your lives to protect us. To all the incredible volunteers who've joined hands with the David Dorn Foundation to raise funds for equipment and services, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. We